Hello, welcome to our program. I am your host, Phatman.
And I'm Littleboy.
And this is our weekly Nedcast podcast for May
7th
of 2012.
Yes.
I know you were waiting for that.
I was.
We have a good show today. It's an interesting show. We're going to try to do 3 topics at the end of this show because we're going to push it off a little bit later because Littleboy was a little nervous about it being boring. I wanted to go over today, and I want to talk about it real quick, the banking collapse and what actually happened. I've done a lot of research this weekend, and I think I've boiled it down to something easy for us all to understand because I really have a hard time putting my head around it. And obviously it's extremely, extremely simplified, but I want to go over that at the end of the day.
Okay.
While I'm talking about this, I'm going to be drawing on our dry erase board.
I can't wait.
And I cannot draw.
I can't wait.
So that's something I want to apologize for way at the beginning.
Okay.
Littleboy, how was your week?
The week's been good. I want to throw a quick shout out to my wife. It was her birthday. And a shout out to Darren's daughter. It was her birthday the same day. And my wife, I gave her the best gift that a husband can give. I was away from her because she was out of town, so she didn't have to spend any time with me. And I gave the same gift to Darren's daughter as well. She didn't see me either.
You know what's really funny? Is the gift that you give to a wife for her birthday and the gift that you want for your birthday
totally
different.
Yeah, totally different. So happy birthday to Wifey and happy birthday to Becca, both of you out there.
Becca calls me Uncle Phatman.
She does call you Uncle Phatman. That is right. I want to remind everybody you can call in. We are streaming live right now. You can call in at 619-387-3457. We'll also be answering your tweets. If you want to tweet directly into either one of us, you can tweet to me at LBHost. And where can we reach you, Phatman?
You can get me at PhatmanShow. And I have my Twitter up and ready to go.
And I think we've been getting tweets every show. The last 3 shows, I believe, we've got phone calls on each one. It's been really neat. Real neat questions.
It'd be great to have one today. We'll see.
Sure. We'll see what happens.
Comes up or not.
All right. You want to get into the show? How was your week?
Uneventful, although I am trying to get back out to work. And I was on the phone today with the Department of Customs and Border Patrol.
Okay.
Border Protection, all that, and that was pretty cool. And tomorrow I have a phone call to, which I think is going to be really neat, Department of Justice. So.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, hopefully I get back.
Hopefully you get back into that. That'd be great.
I know, I really do. It's difficult because, well, the federal government has something called Schedule A because I'm disabled. So you have the Schedule A disability, which they help put you back into these positions. I was state, and with state, well, not state, but I was city, but it's state funded. They don't have those positions. So, for them, there's no way back. So now I might have to, who knows, maybe I have to relocate, but I don't care. I want to get back into it. That's the way to do it. So, we have a lot to talk about today, but I'm going to let you run the show today because you dropped out everything.
Well, Joe Biden came out for marriage equality, or came out and they asked him a question. And one thing I like about him is at least he answers they asked him a question, he answered it. Mm-hmm. He says basically he didn't have a problem with gay marriage, and I don't understand honestly why anybody would have a problem with gay marriage. I really don't. If you don't want to marry someone of the same sex that you are, then don't marry someone. Nobody's forcing you to, but why not let somebody? Why do some people not deserve the same rights as others? That's what my question is. I
think the rights should be the same. I've said that before. Mm-hmm. The word marriage is the only problem I have. But let's get back to liking Joe Biden. I love Joe Biden, too, for the fact that he is an idiot. He'll straight out speak whatever he feels like saying, damn the political consequences. See, and you know what? He really helps when you're on the opposite side.
Well, I'm not big on playing politics, so I like that. I like that in somebody that
is a politician.
I know that.
He's up for re-election, and he should think, I'm glad he doesn't, but he should think about his words hurting his boss, And the thing is, right away, Dennis Axelrod and President Obama both separated themselves from that comment, separated themselves from he said it without just going out and saying it, and then he himself, Vice President Biden, put not a retraction, but kind of a, what do you call it? It's not a retraction, but it's kind of clarification or almost apology for saying it, but not retracting it, but it's apologizing for saying it.
Well,
so,
you got to remember, one of the things he said he's the vice president of the United States and the president sets policy. So he's basically saying this is not the stance of the president. This is just what I believe in.
This brings me back to Cheney. I don't know if you remember, but he was asked the same question right around the same time of their reelection, their first term, and his daughter is lesbian, and he said, "I'm not going to talk about it. Just simply not going to talk about it because it's what my boss says."
Well, why don't you? What do you think about if the government basically said we're going to have two types of marriages? You're going to be married by the under the law by the state, and then if you choose to, you can get married in a church as well. But the government's not going to. That's not going to be binding. That's just going to be up to you if you want to do that afterwards.
I thought they did have that. I thought they had a civil union. Don't they have a civil union?
Not all the states do.
Well, I don't care about that. Civil union, I have no problem. Look, let me tell you something.
Why don't they
I wish the misery of marriage on everybody. The difference is the word marriage is the only thing I have a problem with. If they just knock the word marriage out,
married by the state, married by the church.
You still say married. I'm talking about, maybe they make a contract. I have no problem with civil union.
As long as the one under the church is not recognized by the state, it's basically if that's something that's important to you, then go do it. And the churches can decide whether I guess it's a club. They can technically say who they want in and who they want out. I think that would solve so many problems. They've been doing a lot more research, and come to find out, the majority of Americans now are say if gay people want to be married, let them be married.
Well, see, Prop 8 is a big thing that's happening here, but it was just a marriage is a union between a man and a woman. It didn't say that there couldn't be a civil union. It just said that. It was and it wasn't like legal mumbo-jumbo was 20 pages long. It was one sentence. Now, what they should do is just throw something up that says, we get the same rights as far as benefits, as far as retirements. Just make it easy.
Make it by this government, and then if you want to do it on your own to the church, it's non-binding. Do it under the church if you want to do that. If that's important to you, that's fine.
That would be fine.
Everybody deserves the same rights.
I wouldn't care.
Everybody
deserves
the same rights.
I think if you have people that want to live that way, they live that way. Like I said, I'm not a person who likes laws, so.
Well, let me give you guys a definition of marriage according to Webster's dictionary. It's the state of being united to a person of the opposite sex.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So we're not saying marriage. We're talking about something completely different.
That's why I'm saying I'm just clarifying that term. That's why that term is such a big thing, is because of the fact that that's the definition.
Maybe we should change the definition.
Well, that's where we differ.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem if it was a just civil union. Then that could be its own thing on there. And I'm sure Webster's has a definition for civil union.
I don't want to separate out same-sex and have everybody do the same thing. If you want civil union, then have... If I choose to have a civil union with a woman, have that also be a civil union. Have everything the same.
Well, that's where we differ, because
don't have it different. If
but the word marriage. That's fine.
And if you want to take marriage, take marriage. Who cares?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Everybody be civil union, and then if you want marriage, do that in a church, whatever. But everybody, in order to be legally recognized by the government, by the state, by whatever, if you want all those rights, you have to get a civil union.
Yeah.
And then if you want your marriage and you want to do it under God or under, a flying platypus or under whatever you want to do it under, then you do that. That's your choice, but it's not recognized by the government.
There you go.
All
right.
So we agree?
No, because you, once again, take it a whole different way, and then you put the flying platypus and stuff. And that just annoys me. And the only reason why you do that is just to try to get a rise.
Well, I do that because that's just as ridiculous as what you believe.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, man.
All right, moving on.
Go ahead.
Obesity costs the U.S. $190 billion per year. And this article talks about people who are crying for a fat tax. Now, the reason why this stuck out to me is you and I have both had weight issues our whole lives. Well, I've had one my whole life. You
recently got into it, yeah.
More recent, ever since I've known you anyway.
Yeah.
First of all, do you think that somebody who's obese costs more?
No.
You don't? You don't think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Because the cost, what they're saying is, it costs more to eat, but I pay that myself.
Okay.
It costs more to go to the doctor, but I pay that myself.
But not everybody does.
Well, I know, but the thing is,
Not everybody has health care. We're not talking about you.
I know.
We're talking about in general.
So the deal is, how does the government say? You see, the article wasn't
First of all,
saying,
this isn't the government saying
no, I know.
These are people.
This is what it costs more to be obese. Now, also, in the next 5 years, they say that 42% of Americans are going to be obese. So,
yes.
What do you say? Well, first off, you can't levy a tax. If we go on to a tax, you cannot levy the tax, because that would be the same as levying a tax for somebody who's stupid. You know, because stupid people cost a lot of money,
too. That's
an
interesting take.
You know,
it's funny because
people with disabilities cost a lot of money.
Here's an argument from the other side. People who smoke cost more money.
That's true, and they pay it on cigarettes.
Pay a tax. They pay a tax for their additional cost and burden on society.
Well,
now here's my question for you: if you smoke for 40 years, are you more likely to get cancer?
Yes, and the people around you.
Are you guaranteed that you're going to get cancer?
No.
So what about the person who smokes for 40 years and doesn't get cancer? Do they get to fill out a form and send it in and say, I wasn't a burden, so can I have all that tax money back?
What about the people around them? The secondhand smoke.
Well, let's say that they smoked inside their house and they didn't affect anybody else.
Oh, do you think there is somebody like that?
I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, yeah, but the tax on the cigarettes is not a tax on because they cost them money.
That's one of the reasons why they keep raising the taxes.
They also raise the tax to get people off of cigarettes.
Right, but one of the reasons why they're raising taxes is because the additional burden it is.
Let me throw this at you.
Uh-huh.
When a person is obese and they eat a lot more food, maybe they eat out more. I mean, because food's not particularly taxed, but junk food and candy, everything is. What happens if they live? And they live till 100 years old at, an extra 100 pounds.
So they're saying that extra money, so they paid their burden is what they're saying.
What happened to that? Did they get their tax back?
I see what you're saying. I see. I just saw the article and I'm throwing it out there. I don't really.
I have a problem with even coming close to saying something about smokers, because it does pop in once in a while. The problem is, I can eat as much as I want sitting next to you. It's not affecting you. Your health does not change because of the way I'm eating.
Right.
But if I'm smoking next to you, your health changes.
I'm not talking about smoking next to each other. I'm talking about just the medical burden. That something like, if somebody who smokes and decides they don't want to get health care or they can't afford health care and they get cancer, it gets paid for by the taxpayers.
Okay.
So they have put taxes on tobacco to help make up for that cost.
And they do the same thing with alcohol too.
Okay, but they don't do that. What the people here who are arguing on this side, and I'm not arguing on this side at all, because I'm not. I don't agree with it. But I'm saying what these people are saying is people who decide they want to overeat and be fat and be out of shape, they have a heart attack and don't have health care, the taxpayers pay the burden, and it's not fair. That's what these people are saying. I don't agree with them. I'm just saying that's what these people are saying. That's their argument.
The problem is you can do that for, like I said, you can do that for everything.
Right, where does it stop?
I would like them to say, hey, there should be a tax on stupid, because how many times have you heard the last famous words of a redneck, hey, everybody watch this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, what you're saying here is, hey, look, and maybe this was a lot of smokers who were behind this or something, who want to kind of drum up issues.
Maybe I didn't read anything. I just threw the smoking out there. I didn't read anything about smokers.
First off, they don't know for sure about weight, if it is genetic for sure, if it is a disease for sure.
That's another.
And so basically, it would be saying the same, because people with disabilities, myself included, cost money from the system. You can't tax them for having a disability.
Right.
So the only thing I can tell you about smoking is, if you never start smoking, you're not going to halfway through your life start smoking just because. You know what I mean? You're not going to be like attracted to cigarette. I have to have a cigarette. You know what I mean? You get addicted to smoking. Same thing with drinking. You could be born a non-alcoholic and live your whole life not being an alcoholic.
The thing is, it's really, really hard to. Everybody's different, and there are people who eat like crap and don't exercise and don't do anything, and they're skinny. They just are. So they would have a benefit of not having to pay this tax, but not having to do any of the work.
Now, should they have a tax on candies and crap food? Absolutely. I always thought that was good.
Yeah, it's funny when I
junk food should not have the food the food tax break. It should not.
Well, you know, California, I don't know if it was California or if it was just San Diego, had a snack tax.
California did, and they found it unconstitutional.
I remember because I worked in a liquor store at the time, and I worked on the register, and we said chips taxable, candy taxable. Now that's an interesting point there. Maybe snacks, or where do you draw the line though? Is it just snacks? Is it going to be prepackaged? Is it going to be processed food?
That's the problem. Because then what do you do? Because there is some you know, I eat those granola bar things that we talked about earlier.
Right.
What would that be considered?
Right, because you'd say, it's got fiber benefits and all that stuff, but there's still a ton of calories and a ton of sugar in it.
There's sugar, I'm sure. I mean,
so where would it fall? So it would be interesting where the line would.
And that's exactly the argument, and that's why it got kicked out.
Right.
You know, they were what they ended up doing was basically pretty much donuts and Doritos, and then, you know, those two companies felt like, hey, wait a minute, you know, we're the only ones getting you're knocked out.
Yeah.
Fat tax. We talked about this before a few months ago. First off, I'm never one for a lot more taxes ever. You know, I don't mind a snack food tax. I don't think snack foods should be under the same thing as you know, lettuce and meats and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't believe they should get that same deduction. I understand why food has a deduction. I understand why you can go to Home Depot and buy vegetable plants and not pay taxes on it. I understand that.
Oh, you don't pay taxes on vegetable plants?
You also don't pay taxes on food like feed for animals that you're going to eat.
Okay.
And I understand that because that's the food chain. That should be knocked out. Now, when you have Coca-Cola and you have Snicker bars and, you know, I don't want to name them by names, but I mean just, you know, Doritos. It's not. It's a food item, but it's not something that you can sustain the rest of your life on. And I don't think that should fit in the same category as, you know, USDA exempt items. So
that's an interesting take. I wouldn't have an issue with the snack tax coming back.
Well, it's funny because I think you pay a tax on bottled water.
Yeah, you know, and ice too.
So what the heck?
Yeah,
that's water. You have to sustain your life on that.
That is weird.
But it is not a food product.
When I buy ice sometimes, and we pay tax. I didn't know ice was taxed. I didn't know that.
It's
I mean,
not
I
a
paid.
food
I didn't
product.
throw a fit about it.
Isn't that interesting?
Now, what
Isn't that also because it's processed?
No, that's not true though, because you do not pay tax on. You pay CRV, but you might not pay tax on. A bottle of soda, and that's processed.
Yes, you do.
Well, that's still part of the snack tax. They did do
it's
some
not snack tax. It's not. There's no snack tax. But I think soda does pay tax.
So there is. So basically, well, okay, good question. I have a question. Frozen dinners.
No tax on those.
They're processed.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It must have something to do with liquid or something. Because you pay tax on beer, right?
Oh yeah. You pay alcohol though.
Right.
You pay alcohol tax on beer.
Well,
I don't know.
I'm talking about a tax at the register though, because it's taxed. It's pre-taxed before, you know what I mean? You don't pay an additional tax at the register. I'm talking about sales tax.
Well, in California, you pay CRV.
Just like cigarettes are taxed beforehand. You're not paying a higher sales tax on cigarettes. It's the same sales tax.
No, same sales tax.
What if they took the money, what if they did a snack tax, and they took that money, and instead of saying we're going to put this to the side to help pay for all these people in the hospital, what if they did it towards educating people?
Not feed that crap?
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny? They do that with cigarettes.
Yeah.
And if you did that with Doritos, would Doritos feel that they're being singled out?
Well, don't attack Doritos. Don't attack Doritos. Don't attack a product. Don't even attack chips. Attack nutritional labels. That type of stuff. Say, put it towards the education.
It's funny you say that. I was at my daughter's high school a few weeks ago, and they have, now when we went to school, they didn't have vending machines except for, they didn't even have soda machines.
Yes, they did.
They did?
Yes.
Okay, but did they have these machines that have ice cream bars and have... Let me tell you something. No, I don't even think... Well, they might have had Coke machines.
Soda. We went to
maybe
high school.
soda, but I don't remember that. I just don't remember what those were now that I think about it.
But anyway,
soda
machines.
Today,
I remember
they
I was
have
excited.
Them, they say they do... Well, yeah, but in high school I was 6'5" and 180 pounds, so that was it. That was my max weight. They had ice cream machines, chip machines, snack and candy machines.
I weighed more in high school than I do now.
What I'm saying is, what the heck?
Well, you know
what's funny and not only that, let me finish. When we were in high school, you have to buy your food at the cafeteria, and that was, that was actual county food that was, prepared and made. Today, they have Pizza Hut, They have...
Right, they have vendors that come in. But
What
we
is
had also, they
that?
had like burritos and stuff like that too.
Yeah, but that was county food. That wasn't
Yeah.
like, sombreros or something.
Right.
And now it's actual
It
fast food
definitely
vendors.
needs to go towards... I think that they need to do a much better job of educating people on what's right and what's wrong, and
People
educating.
know. I know when I'm eating what's good and what's
You know
bad for me.
I'm gonna be honest,
I know that. I'm not stupid.
I know. Here's the thing. Here's where it starts.
See,
When
this is
you're-
iced tea with no sugar. It's still tea.
This is water with nothing in it.
Yeah. I mean, there's water in here,
Taxed.
but there's still tea. Yeah, taxed, not taxed, because the tea is a food
I
product.
actually have moved on. I brew green tea at my desk. I have an iced tea maker, and I brew green tea, and I drink green tea all day long. It's
Yeah, I
delicious.
love green tea. That's what that is.
I think that the problem starts when you have a young parent and you have a child who's 3 years old. And what is the easiest thing to do when it's dinner time? We're all busy. Both parents are working. You're running
Mac
around
and
like
cheese.
crazy. Mac and cheese, chicken nuggets, frozen pizzas. That's where
Hamburger
it starts.
helper.
Hamburger
Plus it's
helper.
cheap. Plus it's cheap.
Yes,
Don't forget,
it's
people are
cheap.
having money issues.
It's
So,
cheap.
I mean, how long did you live? Well, I know I did when I first was out of on my own.
Ramen
I
noodles.
lived on top ramen.
That stuff is horrible for you.
I lived on
Yeah.
it. And, mac
Terrible
and
for
cheese.
you.
I can't believe I still eat mac and cheese today.
It's delicious.
Because I love it today, but I used
delicious.
to live on it.
You know, the problem is, though, we've talked about this between us, not on the show. The problem is you have all that processed food, and everybody their palates get used to high salt and all of that, and all of a
everything
sudden,
else doesn't taste good.
They don't like tomatoes, they don't like cucumbers, they don't like lettuce, they don't like any of that stuff. Your palates get so limited to that high sodium, and I have an
High
issue
sugars,
with that.
yeah.
High sugar, high sodium, high starch.
Yep.
It's all cheap, and it's filling, and it's terrible for you.
And what's interesting is, as much as my weight problem is, I absolutely love vegetables. I love them to death.
Yeah.
And
I wish I did.
I would trade a gigantic piece of chocolate cake with fudge all over
You're not
it
a sweet guy
for a steak. You know.
Yeah, you're not a sweet guy anyways. I've always had an issue.
Steak is not a vegetable.
Well, no. I'm saying a steak and a salad,
Not
everything. I mean,
even
I like
close.
all that.
Thank you, producer Jen. Because
You're welcome. We know that Little Boy is a meatitarian.
Yeah.
He is a meatitarian.
And
Yeah.
that Fat Man is right there behind him.
That is-
I'm a meatitarian, but I eat everything.
I'll tell you, that is one of the biggest issues I've had. I've had a lifelong struggle with weight, but I've had a 3-year battle that I've been winning against weight, and my biggest trouble is I have a limited palate. And I don't like vegetables. I just don't like them. It makes it very difficult.
They're so good, though. Just a big
I wish-
plate of
and
anything.
It's not that
is
I don't
good.
try. I really do try. And I say, all right, I'm going to give it a try. And, oh, man, I just don't like them. I have the palate of a 6-year-old that has never
funny.
developed,
Listen, we're running long
right.
on the show, and I really want to get to this banking.
Let's go to your banking. Let's
So,
go to your banking.
now, and I apologize again for drawing. Little Boy, do you understand what happened in 2009 when the banks all collapsed? And it actually started in 2007, but when 2009 when it really, really hit the fan.
Well, I think we got on the edge of the cliff, and basically a decision had to be made. This decision had to be made back before 2008.
This decision should have never been made when it
No,
started in
that
the
should have,
80s.
We're talking about, but
Yeah.
the actual decision was made back in, 07?
What decision are we talking about?
The
Are you talking
TARP.
about bailouts
I'm talking
and
about
TARP?
TARP.
No. This is not. That wouldn't even have stopped it anyway.
Well-
this was going to happen because it was already in motion.
But they got right on the edge, and it was basically a decision had to be made: are we going to help the banks, or are we going to let them fail?
Right. But I'm talking about what actually led up to that.
Right. No, I know
Now-
that, but you're asking me what happened.
Now,
next.
I do believe they made a mistake. We're going to get into it, but I do believe they should have bailed out Lehman Brothers, and I'll tell you why when we're done.
Okay.
But let's start. I don't like any bailouts. I hate all of them, so don't please understand that. The problem is the far-reaching cry of Lehman Brothers hurt globally, and that was something that, maybe we could have slowed down. But, all said and said, the same people are still in power, which upsets me.
Yeah,
Let me
me
kind
too.
of run down this real quick.
Nobody lost their job.
We're getting into that, believe me. So basically, here's how it works, Little Boy. You got the consumer. There it is. There's the consumer's little tiny
Little boy.
thing. That's Little Boy. Now, Little Boy wants to buy a house. He wants to buy a car. He wants to have credit cards. He wants to fund his education for his kids.
And Little Boy,
whatever it
let's
is.
say, makes $40,000 a year.
Well, I'm not even going to go by Little Boy's dollars. What Little Boy wants to do is Little Boy wants all this, right? So Little Boy goes to his bank. All right? Now, Little Boy's bank gives Little Boy a loan, and we're going to draw a dollar sign here, everybody, for X amount of dollars. Now, the problem that we have is little boy really can't afford the loans that he just got. But the bank doesn't care because the bank's going to sell it now, this loan. The bank sells it to a investment bank.
Now, let's talk real quickly. Little boy is excited to get into a house.
Yeah, little boy wants to get into a house. Little boy has $0 and 0 cents.
Little boy wants to get into a house. It's his lifelong dream. The bank absolutely wants to get him into this loan.
Of course they do.
So they don't have a problem overextending him, and he thinks that, like everybody else thinks...
This is okay here, everybody.
Everybody else thinks that
the world's never going to end.
I will be making more money next year than I made this year. So the houses were going up. So this house is going to be worth twice as much what it's worth. I'll refinance. We're going to be great. That was the mentality there, and they didn't care because they just wanted to. They just wanted to get the loan.
Let's do this first, and then we'll talk about this.
Okay.
Little boy is now loaned 100% of whatever expense he's talking about. So this is 100% of his car, 100% of his house, 100% of his student loans. Little boy has to come up with nothing. But he is now what's called a subprime candidate, subprime, meaning they can charge little boy a little higher percentage than they would charge anybody else. So say
nothing to back up the loan.
Nothing to back it up because he bought a house for, we're going to use easy numbers, bought a house for $100,000. He got a loan for $100,000. Well, the bank gives little boy this money, but sells that loan instantly, and we're talking as soon as the ink is dry, to an investment bank. And we're just going to do this. Investment bank. Sorry, guys, I'm really bad. Okay, so the investment bank takes little boy's loan and a tremendous other amounts of loans.
A bunch of other little boys.
And puts them in something called a CDO. And a CDO, all right, is just a stack of loans. It's a stack of homes.
Just a package.
It's a package. It's a stack of home loans, car loans, school loans, and it also has good stuff like capital investments and stuff from other companies to make it look better. But they have this thing called a CDO. Now, and I'll tell you what it is. It's called a collateralized debt obligation. CDO. We're going to say that again. Okay. Now, this CDO, this investment bank doesn't want to hold on to the CDO. The CDO, he wants to sell it to an investor.
Right.
So now we're going to have another little building here. Okay? And this is our investor. Okay? It looks the same as this, but this is our investor. But they can't just sell it to this investor because this has to have a rating, a credit rating of what it is.
Now, here's where the issue started.
This is where the issue starts. Some guy here at this investment bank one day gets an idea. Ooh, here's my idea. There is 5 agencies out there that do credit reporting that will basically
rate this.
That will rate this and say what it is. There's number A, and then all the way down, right? B, C, and D, and E. Okay. A gives, if your loans are pretty good, they'll give you an AA.
Has a reputation.
They got a reputation of being a little lax, but not crazy lax.
Right.
B, crazy lax. They don't care.
They'll give everybody a good rating.
A good rating. C will not.
Right.
They really look into
They're
it.
sticklers. They say we're not.
They look down a little boy and they say, "Hey, you don't have enough money, man. I'm not going to."
They say we're putting our name on this. We are not going to give a good rating to that.
So the investment banker right away goes.
So where are these guys going to go?
Yes, they're going to go to B. Right. B is very easy. B now or C.
I'm coming from the layman's. The reason why B is giving these out easily is because the more they get that reputation, the more places are going to go to them.
Because there's more than one investment bank. So now they're going to give all their business to B.
Right, everybody is.
So B, without saying, hey, if you give me the money to do it, I'll do it. Okay.
They're staying on the up and up, but
that's what they're saying. By statute of the fact that they always give a high credit rating, everybody's using B. So B is growing huge into a huge company, and they give this CDO a AAA rating.
When it probably doesn't deserve it.
Heck no, because little boy is 100% loan. He has zero equity.
Collateral.
There's no collateral. There's no equity.
If he walks away from this house, that you can't do nothing.
No equity.
Because you have nothing you can take. You take the house.
So, but this now his loan is stuck in the CDO.
And hundreds of other people like him.
Because remember, the CDO is made of hundreds and thousands and all kinds of stuff. Now this investor says, well, heck, I'll buy that from this investment bank because it's got a AAA credit rating. Why would I not? It's got a AAA credit rating. This is a great deal. And on top of that AAA credit rating, don't forget, Littleboy's paying a higher interest rate. So they're seeing a AAA credit rating at a higher interest rate than they can get it just sitting their money in a bank.
It sounds too good to be true.
Oh, it is! So, along with the CDO, the investment bank gives them a little pamphlet that says, you should insure this just in case. And here comes Big Mama, okay? Big Mama is AIG, everybody. I'm going to name them out. The world's largest insurance company. Now, the investment bank tells the investor, get a loan on this just in case.
Insurance.
And just in case it fails. It's not going to fail, but just in case
insurance rate will be great because it's AAA rated.
Because it's AAA rating. So they purchase it from AIG. AIG looks at this number and says, well, heck, it's AAA. Hell yeah, I'll give you insurance on it. Why not?
Real good rate, too.
Of course. Why not? And you know what? Don't even worry about your first year's premium because this is such a good deal for all of us. Right. We're going to be fine. Matter of fact, the president of AIG was taped saying that he and his board could no way ever see that a AAA-rated CDO would ever have a problem.
Right.
So for them, it was great money. And on top of that, for insurance, when you have insurance for your house or something, they have to keep X amount aside just in case a catastrophe happens.
Right.
But this is just paper.
Right.
So guess what? They don't have to keep any of it. So you pay them $100, they spend $100.
They spend it.
Yeah, and they do whatever they want with it. Okay. Here's where it starts getting really, really dirty. And I'm talking very dirty here, people. Okay. A credit default swap, or a CDO. A CDO allows the investment bank... No. Credit default, CDS, sorry. CDS allows this institution to also get insurance on this. Now, here, I got a question for you, little boy. Can you insure your neighbor's vehicle?
My neighbor's car?
Yeah, so say he has his own insurance, but you insure it too.
Right. Basically gambling that he's going to crash it and collect the premium.
Then you get the money.
Right, collect the premium.
Right.
No, you can't. That's ridiculous.
Of course you can't. That's absolutely absurd. Well, guess what the government did? And this is during the Clinton administration, but I'm not blaming any of the presidents because I'm blaming every single one of them. We're talking from Reagan all the way up, and everybody knows how much I love Reagan. But what I'm going to say is now they allow them to also go to AIG and say, even though we no longer have anything to do with the CDO, we're betting in our minds that it's going to fail, but even though it's AAA, and the AIG says, I'll take your money, baby.
Right. Now, I'm interested. My question here is, you see that AIG, now, hindsight is 20/20. Of course.
But come on now.
AIG is going, this is AAA rated, this is free money we're getting. But didn't they start to go, why would other people want to insure this AAA?
It goes further than this, little boy.
Can I read you the definition of the CDS just because it's
I read it.
It seems to be easy to understand?
Absolutely.
It's a credit default swap. That's a CDS. It's a financial swap arrangement that the seller of the CDS will compensate the buyer in the event of a loan default or other credit event.
That's them.
Right.
And now they're allowing the investment bank to also buy it. This is the same one they've insured already with the investor. Now this goes even deeper.
Now this kind of looks dirty because it almost looks like they kind of know what's going on.
Absolutely. They know, first off, that they went to B to get this AAA rating.
So they know that's a bogus rating.
And they know that AIG doesn't know that because they did it on their own.
Right.
They're hedging their bet to say that, you know what, if this really is a BB, which is junk, by the way.
They're betting that little boy is a deadbeat.
Is a deadbeat.
Well, not even, no. I take that back.
No, he's not going to be able to handle it,
He has overextended himself.
Right,
that is not that's not really fair.
Now, have you ever heard this other thing called speculators?
I've heard of it.
Well, guess what speculators are? They're by themselves over here, and they're also hedging their bet on this CDO. How they ever found out about it, nobody knows. And they're going back and forth with AIG.
And they're also buying...
And they're also doing the same thing, hedging that little boy is going to have a problem and that they're going to get their money that way.
Right.
AIG's taking their money.
Right.
Because
they're thinking...
It's a AAA credit rating. What are these people out of their mind?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is
and
exactly
nobody
what
here
happens.
at any time went, wait a
Yeah, well, the thing is they took all our government money.
Okay.
So now here's what happens. Something does happen to little boy, and he's unable to keep his home.
All of a sudden, he's making 10% less than he was making before, and he was barely making it.
Or he went into one of these crazy loans where it got him in real cheap, but then it started to grow, you know. And remember, that's what the investor's looking at. The investor's looking at the fact that little boy is someday going to be paying 15%, even though right now he's only paying 2%.
Right. He can afford in payments $2,300 a month.
But all of a sudden now,
these guys know it's going to go up to $3,500 a month.
But they figure, well, this has already been swapped into the credit rating, so they know that this guy's going to be able to pay it. Boom. You know what I mean? We're going to make 15% on this all of a sudden.
We're going to get the premium. We're going to get the money on our.
So what happens is little boy actually can't. Okay? So he goes to his normal bank and says, look, I can't pay the loan anymore. But here's what happened. Little boy's loan payments that he's been paying are actually going under everybody and right to the investor. So this bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, all that, they have nothing to do with that paper. It's an investor who owns it.
Right.
Right?
Even though they're still sending their money there?
Right. Even though you're still sending it to the bank, the investor actually owns that loan. Yeah. The bank does what's called a service fee, a service, where they take your payment in and they give it to the investor and they get just a touch, you know.
Right.
But so here's my thing. Little boy can't pay it. The investors start to default. It starts to default to the investor. So the investor says, well, I'm putting a claim into AIG, right? Well, AIG pays the investor. Oops. AIG's also got to pay the original guy and this. So who's starting to lose money? AIG. Well, obviously they
haven't even collected premiums.
Well, they've been collecting premiums here and here and here.
Small premiums.
But they're small because, like I said, hey, this is such a good rating. We're going to give you, this year for free, whatever. And they use 100% of it. Remember?
Right.
This guy pays them 100. This guy pays them 100. This guy pays them 100. They go spend $300 a month.
Now you multiply that out by about 1,000.
A bazillion.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, who starts to fail?
Yes.
Boop 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 boop. Well, there goes AIG. Okay. Right. Now, once AIG is no longer doing this, they're no longer paying the investors.
They start to fail.
They're no longer paying over here. Well, but these guys didn't really have any skin in the game anyway. The speculators had no skin in the game.
But they're just not making the money.
Now, all of these loans that have been filtering in here are now in these investment banks, and they don't know what to do with it. Because now they got all this paper, and they have nowhere to put it. That's what happened to us, basically. Now, this is what I'm very upset about. One, this investor happens to be pension funds, happens to be retirement funds, happens to be school funds, state funds, all this money that's invested. This is not a single person.
Right.
This is groups of people who lose everything. The insurance company kind of got duped at it, and that's what they went to Congress with, was like, we got duped, we were just doing our job. They never saved any damn money.
Right.
When they paid 100, they paid 100, they paid 100, they spent 300, and they gave it to their people and their CEOs. Who's really to blame here?
Now, it's funny because I did a tiny bit of research on this. I came into this cold. I just kind of wanted to hear your take on all this and kind of your explanation. By the way, great explanation.
It's pretty simplified. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more to it. Please,
but this is
no way an economist,
but
I'm just saying.
This is a good way simplified down. I really enjoy that. You have a lot of people, and I'm going to accuse you Republicans of blaming this guy right here.
I don't blame him.
A lot of Republicans
He takes blame.
Of course he does.
He takes blame because he knew he couldn't afford that 100% loan.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, it's not that he knew.
If you sign those papers and you absolutely don't know a little bit.
You're right. And you do deserve blame.
And listen, I'm this little guy too.
The bank is encouraging you.
Right.
Saying,
we'll do it. No problem.
You're going to make more. You're going to refinance. And they talk you into it. Now, the fact that this guy is most likely a first-time home buyer, doesn't really quite understand how it all, and he just kind of buys into it.
But it's not just homes, don't forget. This is student loans, the cars. This is the zero-interest vehicle.
We're talking homes.
Yeah, okay.
Because that's what most people understand.
Right.
It's really, even though I'm not removing blame from Little Boy here because he deserves blame, it's really hard to not say you wouldn't do the same thing.
I did the same thing.
Okay,
right.
Exactly.
So I know where we're at. I'm the one who got... I mean, I still live in my property, but I bought a house with zero down. Well, no, that's not true, but I did.
The blame goes right here because you can start it at the beginning, or you can go up here to the end, and you can say, these guys should have been smarter too.
They should have been smarter. They should have solved this. You could blame
these guys here because these guys here knew these were going to fail, and they were hedging their bet. You can blame these guys here for no regulation, just being able to throw out that AAA rating, you can blame these guys here because they went there knowing that they were going to get a AAA rating. That's like having somebody. That's like when you go to sell a house and you have an inspector come to inspect it. You know the deal he's going to come to and give it a clean. Clean. It's
and
the same deal.
You could blame the bank or the
guys who are pushing him into the 100% loan. There is plenty of blame to go all around. The thing is, we all paid for it.
Well, here's what happens now. The speculators, well, they didn't really get out any skin in the game, right? The speculators are friends with the investment bankers, so there's a little bit of coercion there. This B company is no longer around because what happened to him was, well, now we knew he was lying, so nobody will accept his certification, right? This bank didn't lose any cash, but now these fees that are all going away that keeps the bank alive.
Because they're losing all the...
They're losing all this. They're losing that. This guy lost his house, and these guys are going out of business left and right. But in all of this, these guys are still working. So where do I put my blame? I put my blame, 90% of my blame. A lot of it does go on a little guy here, but the investment bankers. And why? Because they lied here, okay? They lied here, okay? They lied to their investors, all right? So they're liars there. They lied to the bank, telling the bank everything's going to be all right. And they lied to me and you.
Now, who got most of this? Now, we had that TARP program that cost
billions of dollars.
The number is $700 billion. I researched it here. There's all sorts of people that say it actually costs more. It actually,
I'm sure it's in the trillions.
But the number was $700 billion, so let's go with that. Where did that $700 billion go? Who got
these guys? And that's why I'm very upset.
These guys got some of it.
These guys got it, right? These guys got it. So where does our government lie?
Now here's an interesting take on that, because these guys still lost their house.
And they didn't get it.
And they didn't get any of it.
And their neighbors lost money, too. Because once the house has gone into foreclosure...
That's a great point.
Absolutely.
That's a great point.
So the little guy got screwed, all right? The banks, what happens to the banks are, since they're not doing all these big things, they're getting purchased by conglomerate banks, which are part of the investment bank system. Although commercial banks and investment banks are different, and the reason why is you cannot put deposits in investment banks. All right, and a commercial bank cannot speculate like an investment bank can. But you know, whatever. These guys are out of business, so they got screwed. The speculators will just wait to fight somebody else.
Screwed.
Oh, and I'm glad they are. What really happened here is our government helped the insurance company. And our government helped most of the investment banks.
And the small banks, too.
No, the small banks really didn't get nothing from it. Because what ended up happening is banks like Bank of America and other banks like that, they had to purchase from these investors back those loans. And now they're holding the paper on those loans. And either it helped them or it didn't. That's still to be seen because there's still a lot of properties getting ready to be foreclosed on.
The people who really seemed to not get anything out of this was these guys.
Little guys didn't get nothing out of it at all. And Little Boy didn't get anything. Plus, Little Boy lost his house. Plus, Little Boy now is going to be paying more interest on everything for the rest of his life because of all this. Now, what I'm upset about is President Reagan, both Bushes, Clinton, and President Obama all support these two guys. And I'm very upset about that because I don't believe that our government in any way, which is for the people, should not help the little guy and then turn around and help the big guy. Because this too big to fail thing. Also,
I think one of the problems is that money that went to these companies, it was almost like we were in panic mode. They were in panic mode when they gave it to them.
Because remember in these things I was telling you in the CDOs, we can go back to CDOs real quick. There's something else that was in here too. They couldn't all be junk. There had to be something good that this B company can stay to. So sometimes companies like General Electric, they finance their payroll. So once a week, they know they're going to have so many billions of dollars in payroll, they finance it for a week. Or Firestone's a big one too. Firestone actually finances money every week, for their payroll. That's also in this. So there was some good money in there, but when all this crashed, guess what happened? General Electric and their billions of employees or millions of employees couldn't pay them. And the companies that really wanted to have that, actually had a legitimate deal, could no longer get through here.
Right.
And so that's why, but that is why the government, that's the excuse they use for bailing those two out, is that they helped.
The problem is they didn't put enough rules on the money that they gave out. They rushed into it. Yeah, they rushed into it because of stuff like that. And they didn't say, okay, we're going to give you this, but you need to do this, and this.
No. Instead, the same exact things.
Now, I know this is just the media and all this,
Absolutely true. You're going to talk about the money they gave the executives.
Yeah, I know.
They're still in power.
That's the issue. Why did nobody get fired? And why was it that all of this stuff, whether they could have, IAG could have seen that or not, they should have seen that. And the fact that these CEOs that should have seen this are still getting their bonuses and all that stuff, and their bonuses are coming from the money, this $700 billion that was given them.
And they got more than that. They got more than that now because, again, in 2010, they did another one. So the question I have for you is, and the reason I went through this whole thing is, little boy, and I think you and I are going to feel the same way.
I actually like the fact that you went through and explained how it worked.
Why are these people getting the bailout still and using it for their own use?
Right.
Why are they not fired? I haven't, but little boy lost his house. Why has this guy still got his home?
Right.
And on top of that, why is our government, this was Bush and Obama, hiring the executives from here to be in our Treasury Department?
For the record, I didn't really lose my house. This is just...
I know, but we're using little boy. I am dumbfounded by this because these same people are in power. They're greedy. They're going to do this again. There's no law to stop this again.
I'm going to tell you why. Because... this is going to go back to how much money do you think AIG and all these other have contributed to political campaigns?
The most. They actually have 5 lobbyists for every member of Congress.
And that is why we need campaign finance reform. Right there.
There you go.
Right there. And that's what the 99%ers are fighting for, by the way. That's what they're fighting for, buddy.
Their problem is they're doing it wrong.
Well,
have they do something like this and show the public exactly what happened?
Maybe we should go out and give... So next time they have a rally, we should give them all these whiteboards.
Yeah. Because, obviously that's very simplified, but when my research is... And we're running long. We have to go.
We're running way long.
And I hope you guys weren't bored by that. But that annoys me and upsets me to no end that the blame should be spread across, but the blame should be spread across, but yet the ones that are just as guilty as everybody else are scot-free.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are to blame that paid no price.
No, and it's not right.
That's what the issue is. Campaign finance report.
There's also a lot of people who paid, and I have no blame, which are the neighbors of these people who...
Yeah, that's true. They didn't do it wrong.
Who didn't do anything wrong, are still paying their mortgage and never missed a payment.
And the people who had absolutely nothing to do with this,
the
and
investors.
they pay their taxes every month.
The investors.
You pay your income taxes. Your income tax money went to pay for this, and if you had nothing to do with any of this process, you still had to pay for it.
Right, and the investors. You might have had insurance. You might have had, you lost your mutual funds. That is why I'm so upset about this. This is like the world's largest Ponzi scheme I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is it's still there. Yeah. It could happen again.
That's because it's a government-funded Ponzi scheme.
That's exactly it. That's where the financial reform needs to happen.
Yep.
Now, again, I'm sorry, very long, very simplified. I'm sure there's a lot more to it. We're going to get a tremendous amount of emails from all these mathematicians.
You did a really good job, by the way. I think you did a good job explaining that.
But I'm very upset with the whole system, and the only people I think can help us is our congressmen because
they won't. They have no interest in it.
Well, you can't go to your senator and you can't go to your president. So.
They don't have any...
Let me tell you, Romney's not going to help.
None of them... Yeah, and Romney's not either. None of them have any interest because they're funded by stuff like this.
All right. We are sponsored by goldandsilver.com. Speaking of all these big, huge banks, you might want to purchase yourself something like gold, which is a item that these banks cannot screw you on. And so take a look at our website, phatmanandlittleboy.com, Phatman and littleboy.com, and click on goldandsilver.com. Take a look at investing in gold and silver. Other than that, you can reach me at phatmanandlittleboy.com. That's P-H-A-T. I know I keep saying that, but that's because I get a lot of return emails. And also you can get me on Twitter at PhatmanShow.
You can email me at littleboy@phatmanandlittleboy.com. You can reach me on Twitter. I'm at LBHost. And once again, I want to let you know, if you're watching this recorded, we stream live every Monday, except next Monday we will not be. You'll be out of town.
Next Monday I will be out of town. We'll not
But
be next week.
we stream every Monday, www.phatmanandlittleboy.com, 6 o'clock. We usually start the stream about 15 minutes early just to do a pre-show. We had a nice discussion on some poor lady who got fired for stealing something 40 years ago today. We talk about stuff that you can call in during the pre-show. You can call in during the show. We'd love to hear from you. And that's all I have.
Little boy, good show?
Yeah, good show. You did a good job with that.
Thank you very much. And I'm still really fuming about this. We will see you real soon.
Take care.